morning, beautiful people. Welcome to yet another episode of the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah, Wachera. I hope you guys have woken up well and are excited to face your day. For me, I'm really, really excited, and also for the conversation we're going to have today. But as it is the norm here at the Younib Breakfast Show, let's go straight to the morning bite of the day. Today we're talking about something that is often overlooked but so important: mental health for children. We teach our kids to eat healthy, to study hard, and to stay safe, but how often do we teach them to take care of their minds? In today's world, children are growing up surrounded by pressure from school, from society, and even from themselves. And while we often talk about their physical growth, their emotional growth is just as vital. Today, we are opening up an honest conversation about how children feel, how they cope, and how we, as parents, teachers, and as the community, can help them grow up mentally strong and emotionally supported. Remember, this show is proudly brought to you by Miss Ashan and Younib Organization, and we're trying to reach out to the community to teach you on matters mental health. So if you need any psychological help, you can always call the number 0700 352 250, and our very own psychologist will be able to help you out. Remember, if you want to interact with us, you can do so through our social media platforms: Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and there's a number on your screen. You can SMS or WhatsApp 0719 144 144. Without any further ado, help me or allow me to welcome the guest of the day. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling excited that finally it's another opportunity to really reflect on mental health for kids.
Okay, so feel at home.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So I'd like you to look at the camera. Tell us who you are and what you do.
All right. My name is Grace Nyoro. I am a child therapist. So that means I work with children as a child psychologist. I also do psycho-education and psycho-awareness, like what we are doing here today, mainly just to create awareness about mental health for kids and for young people at large.
Okay, karibu sana tena, and we are honored to have you here with us. Yeah. So today we are having a conversation on mental health for children, right? And I'd like to know, before we even go deep to the conversation, what does a healthy child mentally look like?
Okay. Thank you. So in terms of mental health and a child who is mentally healthy, this is a child who is able to cope with normal stresses. And one may wonder, normal stresses like I did not pass in exams, or so-and-so was my friend, they're no longer my friend. Yeah. So a child who is able to cope with that, a child who is able to manage their emotions, because just like human beings, just like adults, kids also need to learn how to be able to manage their emotions. What we call it self-regulation. Does a child know that when I am angry or when I am frustrated? Most kids don't know that, and that's why we find a lot of parents are struggling with tantrums and all that. Yet the child is just struggling to understand or to express their emotions. So a child who is able to manage their emotions, a child who is able to interact with other kids or with a larger community in a healthy way. That's around social skills. So if a child is struggling with social skills, they're not able to interact with other kids. Maybe in school you find like a child is withdrawn when other kids are going to play, they're not. Yeah, so that's also, so when a child is able to engage socially, we would say that that child is healthy. But also there is the element of thinking clearly. As a child, that's when they're cognitive, that's when their brain is developing. So if a child is not able to take in information, for example, in class, they're not able to concentrate, they're not able to remember things, they're struggling with memory, then that would mean they're struggling. So a child who is able to think clearly, that means their brain is working well. And we talked about working productively. That's basically handling academics, if I can put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I hope we are following up this conversation and we're getting to learn more about mental health for children, yeah? Because I know it's an important conversation, but many people don't even think children can have stress, as you said earlier. And it's important for us to understand our kids, because you see, when us were growing up, it was always like, you're having tantrums, come and beat you. Like, why are you even doing this, yeah? So it's good for us to understand this, yeah? So I'd like to know, why is it important for us to focus on children's mental health?
Wow, yes, that's a very, I would call it a deep question, because unless we understand the importance of mental health, then we'll continue doing things as normal.
Yeah.
And like you said, when we're growing up, unalia kwa nini? Then you're beaten up again, yet you're not helping that child. So in terms of why is mental health important? The brain development, I think I touched a little bit, but when a child is born, immediately the child, actually, when the child is still in the mother's womb, the brain is developing. So the moment they are born, they're exposed to so many things, and every experience impacts, it influences how the brain is developing. So if that child is not, doesn't have emotional and mental health, or an environment that is enabling them to be healthy, then it's going to hinder the brain development. What does that mean? If I am growing, maybe if a child is in a stressful environment, the brain will shut down. So it's like, I'm sure you've probably talked about it. When you're stressed, you're usually in a fight or flight mode. Yeah. So what happens to a child? The child gets stuck at the fight or flight mode, ambayo in most cases tunasema survival. Yani mtu yeye anajua I have to survive. So what that means, brain juu haijui any other thing, inajua tu kusurvive, mtoto ana get stuck. Kumaanisha haezi shikanisha vitu, haezi hata wakipelekwa class, they're not going to understand. So, and yet, you know, like for us adults, we know when we are stressed, we know when we are working functionally, but kids don't know that. So you have a child who is in a stressed environment, they're in a survival mode, regardless of what you do, unless you provide a safe environment, then we are losing the child in terms of brain development. So healthy or mental and emotional health is very critical for brain development. And because it allows the child now to grow and to be able to understand and to learn. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I hope we're following up this conversation and we're getting to learn more about mental health for children, yeah? Before we go to the next question, allow me to go for a short break, yeah? And as you all know, we usually go for a break with a question of the day. So today's question is, when was the last time you asked a child how they are really feeling? Not about school or grades, but about what's going on inside their heart and mind. Please let us know through our social media platform, Younib_TV on Instagram, Younib Media TV on Facebook, and there's a number on your screen. You can SMS or WhatsApp 0719 144 144. Let's take this short break and we'll be back with more. back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah, Wachera, and my lovely guest. And we are here to have a conversation on the importance of children's mental health. Yeah, before the break, I had asked a question, which is, when was the last time you asked a child how they are really feeling, not about school or grades, but about what's going on inside their heart and mind? And these are some of your comments. So someone says, this discussion really hit home for me. I've realized I asked my kid about homework and chores every day, but rarely about how they are feeling. It's made me want to start having more open, gentle conversations at home. Someone else says, I see so many students struggling quietly. They're expected to be strong, but we often miss the signs. I think school needs more counselors and less pressure on grades. We can't ignore the emotional side of learning. Someone else says, I liked that the show talked about emotions, but sometimes it feels like adults only start caring when things get really bad. Maybe if people listen earlier, kids wouldn't feel so alone. I agree. Yeah? Someone else says, this was such a needed conversation. Mental health support shouldn't wait until adulthood. Teaching kids to name their feelings and ask for help is as important as teaching them to read or write. Allow me to just sample one last one, although I have so many. Someone else says it's heartwarming to see the younger generation breaking the silence about emotions. I'm learning from my grandchildren that it's okay to talk about feelings, even for us older folks. Yeah. So I don't know whether you have something to add on the question of the day specifically.
Well, it's really good that the audience are realizing the importance of having conversations with kids and not just asking, how was your day? And because if you just ask, how is your day? The child would say it was good. But it's important to go deeper. What did you like? What did you not like? So that you get to connect with the child and you get to hear the feeling behind their experience, so that at least we are able to support children early enough before things escalate. Yeah.
Okay. So before the break, we we started having the conversation on the importance of children and mental health. Is there any add-ons on that?
Yeah. So we did say that brain development is critical, but mental health also helps children in terms of social skills. They're able to develop relationships and healthy relationships, as it were. And this means it's not just healthy relationships with others or with their peers, but even healthy relationships with themselves. If a child doesn't feel good about themselves, it affects their self-esteem, and that affects how they look at life, the outlook about life. So it also influences the positive outlook, helps develop positive relationships, and also being able to know this is a good relationship for me or this is not a good relationship, because they are able to foster positive relationships with themselves and with others. So social skills is also critical, but also there's an element around resilience. If we say we are not going to be stressed, we'll be lying to ourselves. We are living in a world where there's going to be adversity, and so resilience is critical. Helping a child be able to bounce back whenever they're stressed, whenever I fight with my parents, whenever we are not getting along with my friends, when I fail, I can bounce back and know I'm not a failure. I didn't get what I want, but that doesn't mean I'm not a failure. I can do better. So yeah, being able to build resilience so that they're able to cope with stress now in their childhood, but also in adulthood. So for me, it's very critical at childhood because it heavily determines who they're going to become as adults. Yeah.
And it's so important because we're always told that our childhood is just like a reflection of who we'll become as we grow up.
Exactly.
Yeah, and sometimes it took, for some of us, it took a while for us to understand whatever happened in your childhood is affecting what you are right now. And you have now to you listen to people and they're saying, I had to go to the therapist, talk about my childhood traumas, and now that is what I'm working on right now. I feel wasted. But again, it's good that we're having these conversations now because of our children. Yeah.
And again, sorry to interject. Okay. We also realize that now as adults, we parent the way we were parented. So if we carried childhood, let me say a negative childhood, for lack of a better word, we are going to impose the same on our kids, unfortunately. So what you're seeing, like you said, some of us have gone to therapy to resolve those childhood experiences so that we don't pass on to our kids. But not everybody knows that I am doing like this, I'm behaving like this, I am a disciplinarian, or I'm very strict, or I'm a perfectionist. It's because of your childhood. Maybe you are not allowed to make mistakes. And then you raise a child expecting the child to be perfect. The moment una expect mtoto akwe perfect, mtoto akikosea ni kichapo. What are you doing to that child? Pia yeye ata grow up akijua I need to live perfect, yet nobody is perfect. So that's just an example of how childhood transitions to adulthood and to the next generation and the next, and why we need to break the cycle.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Remember, this show is probably brought to you by Miss Ashan and Younib Organization, and we are trying to reach out to the community to teach you on matters mental health. So if you need psychological help, you can always do that through our number on your screen. That is 0700 352 and our very own psychologist will be able to help you out. Yeah. So we're talking about the children, right? So to our next question of the day, or I'd like to ask more about the causes of mental health conditions in children.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are, I think we categorize them in like 4 categories. So one, we have what we call genetics. Like you might be born in a particular condition or in a family line, just like you say, like some diseases or some conditions have family genetics. There's some ailments, mental health conditions that can be within the genetics, but that doesn't mean that the child will automatically get that. So for example, if a family member has depression, alcoholism, you might find that the child is exposed to that risk. So there is the genetics element, depression, anxiety, bipolar. There are certain conditions that are within the genetics. But then there's also the brain chemistry, where we find that just like you can be born with a disability, the brain, the neural science, let me just call it science because I'm not a neurologist, but the science in the brain is not working. So you find like that there's hormones that are supposed to balance a particular element, like the moods, are not. So this one would lead to some of the conditions like anxiety, mood disorders. So there are some conditions that are because of the brain. But also we have what we call prenatal exposure, what the child was exposed to before they were born. If maybe the mom was taking drugs, alcohol, those ones can cause some developmental disorders or delayed milestones. So there are those, there's that element as well. Then there's a physical health, like mwili. If a child is born with health conditions, like a child can be born and they spend a very long time in hospital, or along the way they develop a condition, their kids with cancer, all that, they contribute to their mental health. So there is that. And then lastly, there is what we call adverse childhood experiences. And this is what we interact with a lot. Trauma. For example, if a child experiences or is violated, a child can witness sex or someone be violated, or they themselves can be abused sexually or any other form of abuse. But also there is this form of neglect. Mtu yake kwa neglected in any way, it leads to trauma, which causes mental health. There is an element of family instability, and unfortunately this is a big one for us. Separation, divorce, blended families, all this, if they're not handled well, and if the child, and in most cases you find that mtu huyo anakuwa ignored, like the parents just decide we are not working, this marriage is not working, we are parting. But nobody takes time to talk to the child to find out how does the child feel about this, or even to let the child know, oh, you know, mommy and daddy will be living in separate houses from now on because of XYZ. We ignore the child, yet we forget that this child is being affected because of mommy being away or daddy, or me having to move to different houses.
Yeah, on different days.
On different days. It's too complex for them to and I mean, I can talk about that for long, so let me stop at that. But then there's also domestic violence, just like what I talked about. Parents are fighting. It also causes mental health challenges. And then major life challenges, changing of schools, moving of houses. Hizi vitu wazazi just say tunahama. You don't care about what the child feels. Having a new sibling, I'm getting a new brother, I'm getting a new sister, all this they contribute, and they heavily, there are experiences that yes will happen, and we're not saying that hazifai ko happen. The big question is, have you taken time to understand how your child is experiencing this and help them to be able to understand the whole process, so that they, as long as they understand what's happening, then they'll be good, they're able to cope.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you. As we continue to digest this information and to also think about this conversation, and mostly the causes and how we as parents, mostly because it's the parents, are responsible for this. I want us to take a short break and we'll be back with more conversation on the topic. Welcome back. This is still the Younib Breakfast Show with me, Peninah, Wachera, and my lovely guests, Grace. And we're here to have a conversation on mental health for children, yeah? Because time is not on our side. I'd like us to go straight to the next question, please. Allow me. And the next question is, how would I know, if I'm a parent, if I'm a teacher, how would I know that my child is going through something when it comes to mental health?
All right, thank you. So in terms of signs and symptoms, one thing is you know your child, you know a child's behavior and way of life. So immediately, okay, I wouldn't say immediately, but some of the signs that you are likely to see is, for example, there is persistent sadness and irritability, kukasirika haraka. So depression especially appears or manifests, that's the word, inajionyesha in form of irritability na kukasirika, with children na pia mood swings. So if you realize that over a period of 2 weeks, mtoto anakasirika haraka, ako sad, ako withdrawn. There is also the element around withdrawal, and withdrawal could be from people or from things that they like doing. Alikuwa anapenda kucheza football, alikuwa anapenda hang around friends. Basically the things that they like doing, they're now withdrawing from them. That could also be a sign. They're avoiding family and friends, maybe every other family gathering, kama mnakuanga na family gathering or whatever engagement they are in. Basically, the child is avoiding. There is a lot of withdrawal. Dramatic. And when I say dramatic, I mean out of the usual mood swings. We all have mood swings. We have bad days and good days.
Yeah.
So if we have those extreme mood swings, it's also good to look into and find out what's really going on. Anger outburst, kusema unakasirikia nini, and it's an every other thing. Try to find out what's going on. Regressive behaviors. Regressive behaviors ni zile behaviors zenye mtoto outgrow but unapata amerudi nyuma. Kama alikuwa ameacha kukojoa kwa kitanda, they've gone back to bedwetting. Kama alikuwa amegrow from kunyonya kidole, ama ni mtoto wa pacifier, they have gone back to that. So regressive behaviors is also something, a sign. So it's good to find out what's really happening. There's also an element on aggression and risk taking. Severe aggression, like mtoto anajaribu kuharibu vitu. There's a time I had a client, a child, a 5-year-old, who wanted to kill the cat, wanted to flush the cat in the toilet, wanted to burn the house. Like anachukua kiberiti anataka kuwasha gas. So that kind of behavior also tells you there's something going on. Yeah, so there's element around worry and fear. When a child is extremely worried and fearful, it's also good to find out what's going on. So basically around changes of behavior and looking at, those are some of the things. But also kuna element ya sleeping na eating. Overeating, oversleeping, try and find out what's going on. Loss of energy, kama tu sisi, unajisikia tu kulala the whole time. Sina psych. Try and find out. Academic performance. By the way, we quarrel kids, we tell them, nimeuza ngombe, ndio usome, what's this?
Yeah.
Try find out what has changed. And then lastly, physical complaints. Mara nyingi mnashinda, mtoto anaumwa na kichwa, anaumwa na tumbo. Just like us, some of these physical ailments, especially kama there is nothing to explain, naenda kwa daktari hakuna kitu, it could be around mental health. Yeah, so those are some of the signs and symptoms. There could be others, but at least those are some of the signs and symptoms that we should really look out for and try and find out there's something going on. Yeah.
Okay. And if you see you have one of the signs and you metaja hapa, you're seeing your child has it and you can't find a way you can talk to them. Remember, we have professionals who can do that for you. Just call the number 0700-352-250 and they will be able to help you out and your child. And then you guys will see maybe notable difference, yeah, because of them being taken care of. Okay, so we are in a digital era, yeah, and I can actually call these children digital children because they have been born in times of the digital era. So I'd like to know, is digital media helping or harming children's mental health?
Wow, that's a whole session. It's a whole show by itself. So I'll try to compress it. So we cannot ignore technology, and it is here and it's here to stay.
Yeah, that's true.
So digital media is doing good, but it's doing more harm than good. Children are being raised by screens. We as parents, I'm a parent myself, I have a 3-year-old. As an expert, I have corrected myself, but in most cases tunapatia mtoto simu, ndio tunambabysit na simu. So what that means, you are exposing the child to addiction. They can be addicted to screens. Their brain is being conditioned to always to receive things instantly, the microwave thing, because even when screens keep up changing colors and all that, it's so exciting, it's so attractive for kids. they don't know anything else. So when they go outside to play, when they go to the supermarket, I want this, they expect I have to have it. So they don't know how to self-regulate, because they are used to a system that is moving and moving very fast. So it is doing more harm than good. Now, as parents, it is our responsibility to make sure that we balance, because we cannot ignore technology. Can we make sure that we are managing screen time? We are looking out for what our kids are watching. Kids are being exposed to things beyond their age. So basically we are monitoring. Si kupatia tu mtoto TV. Mtoto screen ama kumwashia TV akae hapo 24/7. We are monitoring. And then also, as parents, we need to be mindful of online, we call it online safety. Bullying, there's a cyberbullying, there's a lot of it happening. There's a lot of abuse happening. There's a lot of, what's the word? Wanaingizwa into stuff they're not supposed to be into. So we need to make sure online safety, having restrictions and balancing out, but also empowering our kids. Like if you're on phone, make sure that, especially the older ones, you're not sharing your location. There's a lot of information on online safety. So it's really about balancing, because hawezi sema mtoto wangu hatakaa bila simu. It's hata usipompatia simu atapata huko nje. Yeah, so be a present parent. Acha kuachia simu ikufanyie parenting. Yeah, be the parent and manage or guide the whole screen and technology aspect.
Okay, nice. Yeah. And I hope you're taking notes, because honestly, everybody now, every child even knows better than even the parents when it comes to our phones, when it comes to our TV. So I hope we'll be able to work on that. Yeah.
And on social media, sorry, I didn't talk about social media, because that's where we are. Our kids and young people are being shaped in terms of their life.
Yeah.
So their identity, I've not posted today, I've not gotten these likes and all that. It ends up shaping their outlook about life. So it's important for you as a parent to empower their child to know they have their own identity, and it should not be informed by what other people are saying on social media. That's why we are seeing lots of suicide cases because of that, by the way. And it's because a crowd out there has not liked what you wore today, or everyone else is going on vacation and you haven't. And then nobody ever posts the negative things about their life on social media. So we end up competing with a fake world, because in most cases people don't present their whole life. Yeah, so it's important for us as parents to just empower our kids to be able to engage safely online, regardless of the platform.
Okay. Okay, so to our next question, and I hope you're taking notes again, which might be the last question of the day. How can one support a child cope with mental health? Yeah, if I'm a parent out there, if I'm a sister, if I'm a brother, and I'd like to support my kid or my sister who is going through mental health condition.
Okay, so there are mental health conditions that might need professional help, and that one I would say please seek professional help, especially like developmental disorders. Those ones you might not have the capacity to. But the basic, like the stresses, especially if you see the signs that we talked about, of importance is to make your child feel heard, like unamskiza. What that does to a child, it makes them feel safe. And already by listening to your child, being present, allowing them to be who they are, wanna feel, okay, niko safe, so I can say whatever. And by the kids, they just need to tell you, because they look at us parents as our heroes, like we have solved all their problems. So, si ati mtoto anakuwa bullied shule, and then anakuambia mimi sitaki kwenda shule, I spend hiyo shule, mama nataka kwenda shule ingine. And there you are, you're like, I've paid so much school fees. You are not taking time to find out, like, what is happening? Why don't you want to go to this school? Can you tell me what's going on? Build a relationship with your child, have a conversation around it. Let them know that you're listening to their feelings, and then validate their feelings, by the way. That's a very important one. Ata kama you don't agree with it, validate their feelings so that they feel, okay, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel worried. It's okay to cry.
Yeah.
Mara nyingi tunaambianga watoto unalia nini? Ulikuwa unaanguka ukifanya nini? We are expecting children to behave like adults. Yet they are children who are learning their feelings, they are learning themselves. So very important is to validate their feelings, listen to them, hear them out, and allow them to just be in a safe space. And also, to how they are human beings, especially when we are going through tough situations like I talked about. There's changes in the home, there is death in the family, there's a disaster. Let them feel part of, like they're being wako part of it, so mna have conversation around it, ndio mnaweza kujua what exactly is going on. Okay. Yeah.
So I'd like you to just give us a parting shot by looking at the camera. For our viewers, what can they take away from this whole conversation?
Well, I think the takeaway from this conversation is children are very, how we address mental health for children, or creating an emotional, creating a safe environment for children to thrive mentally and emotionally is very critical, not only for their childhood, but for their entire life. Who they become in after childhood is heavily determined by their childhood. So let us invest in their mental health. Let's try to find out what's really going on. Let us not ignore children.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor having you here, and I'm so sure we've learned a lot. And it's not all about learning alone. We should also try and practice it. Yeah, something that you didn't know, try and make it like part of your system at home. Maybe you taking supper, ask your children, okay, how was your day? Like, I know it was okay, but what did you do during the day? Yeah, how did your friend bet you? What did you feel? Yeah, so we try and incorporate these things so that we can be able to understand our children. And also, let's be so not so much quick to judge the children, but let's listen to them and also just make them be, let them be children as they're supposed to be. So asante sana for the conversation, for the lessons, because I'm so sure we've taken a lot of lessons from you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and we'd like you back as many times as possible.
Yes. I'm happy to come and unpack any other thing around mental health for children.
Feel free.
Thank you.
Okay, so this has been the Younib Breakfast Show. Thank you so much to everyone who has made this show a success. Thank you so much, Elias, for being our camera person and our director. Asante sana for being there and for making YBS a great show. It's because of you that many people, even the viewers, are able to see the show. Yeah, and to you, our viewers, thank you so much for always tuning into Younib Breakfast Show, for always bringing your comments, for always saying hi to me on the road, like, yeah, Peninah, we've seen you. Yeah, Wachera, this is so, yeah, I get them. We really appreciate what you guys are doing, and thank you for your support. And make sure now you share it to someone else so that it can reach everybody who deserves to learn more about mental health and children. Yeah. Until next time, do have yourselves a beautiful day ahead. Goodbye.